Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life.
This episode is sponsored by Grip. Got lots of people, places, and things to track? Grip is the easiest way for farmers to track anything important to their operation. With flexible QR code tracking, keeping digital records is a snap with Grip's operator-first mobile app centralizing alerts, reminders, electronic forms, and team conversations. With simple month-to-month pricing and no long-term commitments, Grip can transform and streamline your operation so that you can focus on what's most important, growing. For a limited time, get 15% off any monthly or yearly subscription at grip.ag/pricing with the code THRIVEIN25. That's GRIP.ag/pricing with the code THRIVEIN25. Hey, Thriving Farmers. Michael Kilpatrick here with another episode of the Thriving Farmer Podcast. Today, my guest is Taylor Bemis, who runs Tumbleweed Farm with a focus on clean, pesticide-free produce on Oregon's Upper Hood River Valley. Since 2012, Taylor has been cultivating just over 2 acres, supplying their loyal CSA community and local market with fresh, seasonal vegetables. Taylor, welcome to the podcast.
Michael, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So Taylor, give me a little bit of an overview about your farm.
Yeah. We started in the fall of 2012. So that 2013 season was our first year. We started out leasing land about 3 miles up the road from where we're farming now, where we landed. That was just like a 1 acre site. Was perfect for getting us going, and now we're on 6 acres. It's about 2 1/3 that we cultivate, and we run a 160 member CSA. We do the Hood River Farmers Market every week, and we do some wholesaling, but that hasn't been our focus the last few years.
All right. So let's talk. You grew up in, was it Massachusetts or Connecticut?
Yeah, Concord, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have been there.
Yeah, it's a cool spot.
Yes, absolutely. And so were you doing any agriculture on the East Coast, or did that all happen when you moved out west?
Yeah, so my family runs a much bigger scale farm there than we do here. I grew up on and then just a short distance down the road from Hutchins Farm, which is, my family's farm in Massachusetts. And they do, they have 60 acres themselves, and then they lease another 25 or so within the town. And they're basically just doing a way bigger version of a lot of the same stuff we're doing. They do apples and blueberries as well. Mm-hmm. But so I grew up, having a taste of it, but at that time, not a ton of experience. I worked a handful of summers on the farm, but I guess growing up, I wasn't super interested in it.
Yeah. Now, that farm too, that is certified organic as well?
Yeah, they've been organic since the beginning. I think 1973. They were organic before it was even a certification.
Okay, so they're one of the OGs organic.
Totally, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so then you grew up, you weren't super interested, and so did you go off to college, and then what brought you back to farming?
Yeah, I went to college. I went to Colby College in Maine, and then, moved out. I mean, at the time, we grew up 15 minutes from a super small little ski hill and Neshoba Valley. And from an early age, just that was my passion. That was all I wanted to do. So when I got out of college, I moved west and was just kind of pursuing skiing, just work. I was a bellhop, bartender, mowed lawns, just, kind of whatever it took to basically be skiing every day. And my wife at that time was an esthetician, so she gave facials, and she was real into trail running. And we were just kind of, doing whatever to kind of pursue our recreational interests. And at some point along the way, I think we were just, feeling a lack of, kind of like a deeper meaning in what we were doing. It was fun, but I guess we kind of felt like farming was going to sort of fill that void in our life. And we moved back to Massachusetts, and for 3 years we worked on Hutchins Farm, my family's farm, and just got real into it there.
Okay, so basically you came back to the farm and you did like almost like a 3-year internship or apprenticeship or kind of like that, or is it just more of we're just embedded in the farm because that's what we feel like is right for us right now?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I don't think we had clearly thought out, I guess, how our path would go, but we just knew we wanted to give it a go. And just with my family already having the established farm, we figured that was a great place to start.
Yeah. Then, so after those 3 years, was that when you decided, and how did you pick exactly where you are in Oregon?
My wife grew up in Oregon, and her whole family was still in the state. So she really wanted to be closer to them, and we wanted to get our own operation going. So we were thinking Oregon, and there's a handful of great spots to grow in the state, but we kind of landed where we were just based on proximity to her family, proximity to some other stuff we like to do. And it's a great agricultural area. It's kind of big in, it's more of an orchard community than a vegetable community. But a lot of the things were already, in place for a farm like this to happen and to thrive. So yeah, we kind of narrowed it down to, I guess basically this valley. And then originally through a website, I want to say it was called Friends of Family Farmers. We got lined up with this land lease just up the road from where we are now. And we were able to, get going.
Very cool. So then, because land where you are right now is actually great land. It's, very good land. If you're looking at like land in the U.S., it's like probably one of the top 10 areas in the U.S. for farming.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I don't know how aware we were of that at the time.
Yeah.
I think we basically just sort of lucked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the soil's great, the climate's great. We got plenty of water.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
And then it sounds like your market's pretty good too, that you don't have any challenges with your market.
Yeah, I mean, getting started, that's always an issue, and kind of what routes you're gonna seek out. But yeah, I mean, between our valley, the Hood River Valley, the Gorge, Columbia River Gorge, there's plenty of outlets for us, and then we're only about an hour and 15 minutes from Portland. So yeah, we go there as well.
Okay, so that's where your farmers market is then in Portland.
We only do one farmers market these days, and it's the Hood River one.
Okay, so it's closer.
Yeah, it's 15, 20 minutes from the farm.
Okay. That's nice. So talk a little bit about your CSA, because one of the things I really like on your website is you do a little, you do like the weekly share, you show the picture of the share, you do a little bit about it, and then you actually in the each item you talk about the nutrition value of it and why it's good for you. Like the radicchio, it's high in vitamin K, a good source of dietary fiber, and is a healthy source of antioxidants. Consuming radicchio may help reduce the risk of health conditions such as cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, and heart disease. So that's something you go through for every single item. Talk about like why that's important for you.
Yeah. So we do that weekly newsletter. And I think early on, we started, I guess, just providing a list of what was in the share. Just because, we were getting questions similar to what we were thinking when we first started farming, like, what's kohlrabi? How do you use it? Yeah, I mean, before going down this path, I would not have known what half the stuff in the share was. So we started doing that, and then we started doing a little bit of like just what's been going on the farm on that week. And along kind of our farming journey, my wife got super into recipes and nutrition, and she kind of went hard down that path, and has now published 3 cookbooks that's mostly based on the type of food we grow.
Oh, wow.
And she along that path just has dived deeper into the nutritional side of it, and I think we just decided that providing some of that information in the newsletter would be interesting and helpful to the customers.
Okay. And then talk a little bit about, so also on this, I think we talked about what's thing, but you also include some beautiful recipes. And then she do the photography as well?
Yeah. So she has, while we've been farming, kind of cultivated this whole other career path based on that. So she's had these 3 cookbooks, and now she maintains 2 websites where she's publishing, just like healthy farm fresh recipes, I think almost daily, and has really developed a full side career just based on that.
Yeah, I literally just sent the beet tzatziki recipe to my wife because I was like, we need to start making that.
Yeah, that's good. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on that one.
Yeah. That's awesome. So let's kind of move back to talk about the farm. So you're on, you said 5 acres?
Yeah. The property's 6. We cultivate about 2 1/3.
Okay. And then talk about the mix of vegetables. It looks like you do a full range.
Yeah. I mean, we started out basically just copying my family's farm. I mean, pretty much everything you'd think of from like just like a market farm, the main vegetables you'd see at a farmer's market. And then, every year it seems like we, might cut something out or bring something back that we'd cut out before. But we're doing the traditional bunched greens, bagged greens, roots, tomatoes, peppers, squash, potatoes, eggplant, all the brassicas. The regular stuff for the most part.
What would you say is your customers' favorite crop that you grow?
I mean, that the Salanova is what we move the most of.
Okay.
It makes it into most CSA boxes, and then it's definitely our top selling item at the farmer's market. And that's kind of the one item we still do focus on doing a little bit of wholesale on.
Okay. And so, but other than that, you're mostly right straight through the farmer's market and your CSA for all the food.
Yeah. And we keep a good diversity of crops. Like, I mean, some of the stuff, it's like in terms of the row foot, bed foot, financially, wouldn't be the best option for that space. But, there's also that kind of immeasurable diversity that you can bring to a CSA share. So, I mean, we're still growing corn and potatoes and winter squash. But yeah.
Okay. Now, like the corn and tomatoes and winter squash, are you growing quantities for CSA, like especially with corn? Because I know corn takes a significant amount of space.
Yeah, we do, sometimes we do 3, sometimes we do 4 plantings a summer. So each planting, we're only doing, I think 4 beds, so 8 rows, 100-foot long. I mean, it's a substantial space for a farm our scale, but it's not huge. And it's really just to add that special item for those 3 or 4 weeks to the CSA, and then the farmers market customers love that stuff too, and so do we.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, corn is something we haven't added back here yet. We did pick up another 4 acres, so I think once we have that back to soil health of where we want, it was conventional corn for forever. So once that's back up, I think we should be able to add at least some sweet corn back into our rotation. And I think it will be only for the CSA. That will be the only way you can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, prices
Yeah,
of
and
corn. Yeah.
I know you have a few kids as well, and yeah, the sweet corn is definitely our kids' favorite thing to do. Their favorite thing to eat. My daughter
Yeah.
just the other day was like, yeah, we can't sell any of the corn, watermelons, or cantaloupe to the customers. We need to eat all that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk about that. You mentioned your kids. Talk a little bit about how are they integrated into the farm?
Yeah. So yeah, we got a 5-year-old and a almost 3-year-old, both little girls, and yeah, I mean, in terms of their involvement, I mean, they're just out there running around all the time. We can get them to help out here and there. But I think that'll be something we could potentially look forward to. You never know. Hopefully, they're more helpful than I was as a kid. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like we live on site and they're out and about and having fun. But yeah, they're not at an age yet where they're contributing a whole lot other than just lightening the mood and having
Yes.
fun and growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. That age is more about, okay, learning where the paths are,
Yeah,
and don't pick the green cherry tomatoes.
right.
So once they hit 7, we have a 7, almost 8-year-old. He's huge help. This week he actually learned how to seesaw row cover. So that was a big deal.
You saw road cutters. That's awesome.
Yes. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. So talk a little bit about kind of. So it's you and your wife. Do you have employees? Kind of what's the labor situation look like?
Yeah, so yeah, when we got going, it was just my wife and I for a number of years. And then we slowly started introducing employees. I think the driving factor to that was my wife's first book deal. She had a timeline and a deadline on that I think had her a little spooked, both of us a little spooked on her ability to, I guess, put in the hours that she had been on the farm. So yeah, we started bringing on just one employee at first. But yeah, right now we do 3 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. And then yeah, my wife's not full-time these days, but she works both of our harvest days and she works the farmer's market.
Okay.
And then yeah, I mean I'm as full-time as I can be. But yeah, I mean having the kids definitely makes that more of a challenge. But yeah, I try to staff myself out of kind of the daily routine of picking, planting, washing, a lot of the hoeing. And yeah, I try to, basically just be a floater, do all the tractor and bed prep work, monitor the greenhouses, do all the irrigation. And then, I mean, there's always something that's coming up that kind of takes my attention. But then, yeah, that way if somebody calls in sick or something, we're not screwed and I can hop in with the crew and
Yeah.
the important stuff.
Okay, so talk about the kind of like your equipment and your bed, like the process for because I know like you're on like a 3-row system, so I'm assuming that's tractor run.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a 1984 Ford 1710. And it's a 23 horsepower tractor. It's probably slightly underpowered for what we ask of it, but it gets the job done. So yeah, we got a rototiller for that, and we have a spader for that. The spader is really what it struggles with the most.
Ah, yes.
Our soil is really clay heavy, so it hangs on to the moisture really well, which this time of the year I kind of view as a problem, but in another month or
Absolutely.
two we'll be grateful for it. So honestly, this time of year, it's difficult to get the spader through that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of just use the rototiller for primary tillage. And then we've used different things for bed prep over the years. We were using a BCS for a while. And then a couple seasons ago, I guess what we were doing was just rototilling and, quote unquote, forming the beds just by driving back and forth with the tractor. And then, we would do that a couple weeks in advance, and then we'd throw the power harrow on the BCS and just do a pass right before planting or seeding.
Yep.
So we tried that game for a couple years, and that worked well for the direct seeded stuff. But because our soil is so clay heavy, it wasn't it wasn't loosening up the soil on the bed surface to the point where it was easy to transplant into.
Gotcha.
So we wound up moving away from that, and I bought just a narrow rototiller. The other problem with that system was that our rototiller was I think almost 6 feet wide, and so forming those beds by driving back and forth with the tractor, there would be a seam from the rototiller passes that.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and it wouldn't always line up on the walkway. So then you end up having to, if you're not doing the BCS pass, you have to rake that out somehow or somehow deal with that. So I wound up buying this rototiller that just fits right in between our wheel wells on the back. So just in one pass, I could make this super light, fluffy bed, which is, it's not ideal if you're direct seeding into that, because you're just, bringing up all those fresh weed seeds to germinate with your crop. But it really is nice for transplanting into just a fresh, fluffy bed like that.
Yeah. Now, your Ford 1710, is that a high crop offset, or is that just a regular Ford?
We just have the regular one. On my family's farm, they had the offset. So I'd love to drive that one too for cultivating.
Yeah, and those, I just looked up one the other day, and there is one right now on Tractor House for $30,000. It's an 86 or 87, and it looks almost like no one ever used it. I mean, it's always undercover, but $30,000. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Before we get back to the episode, we have a couple minutes with Tracy, the founder of Grip. Tracy, before you founded Grip, you noticed most farmers are still using paper records to track all their assets and manage teams. What made you realize how big the problem was?
Yeah, so I started talking with farmers about the way they were managing operations a few years ago and found that most were still using paper to track everything. I mean, some of these were large organizations with dozens of greenhouses, irrigation systems, tractors, other pieces of equipment, not to mention storage, warehousing, and logistics. And I was shocked to see they were still using paper or spreadsheets, for equipment maintenance, records, and team assignments. So once we started taking a deeper look, we found a lot of maintenance and equipment issues getting overlooked, and they had a hard time finding the information when they needed it.
I see where you're coming from. Just the other day, I was trying to hunt down a very important scrap of paper that had disappeared. Now, we have a new paper shredder in the office, and not that I'm blaming anyone, but let's just say the kids might have gotten bored. But, tracking irrigation, maintenance, and records across the farm isn't an easy issue to solve. You have to get an app to track your planting and harvest records, and another app to track equipment maintenance, and another app to track team assignments. Pretty soon, you'll be trying to deal with a huge list of apps, and it wouldn't be worth the effort.
Yeah, that's what we realized too. There isn't anything that lets you track everything together, your assets and records, for all the stuff you own, as well as the team conversations you have in their assignments. So we decided if no one else had done it yet, we'd do it ourselves, and that's why we built Grip.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about Grip. What can you actually do in the app?
Sure, so Grip is the easiest way for farmers to track anything important that their operation relies on and centralize team conversations. You can set up reminders in the app for maintenance schedules, greenhouse checks, and other routine operations. You can also put Grip QR code stickers on all your physical assets, making it easy for anybody to scan to check maintenance records or access other critical information when needed, which is typically when you're right in front of it.
Yeah, it sounds like Grip provides a lot of ways to help you keep tabs on your operation. But what about small farms? Would you say Grip is designed more for the large operation than small farms?
Well, not necessarily. We get a lot of small farmers using grip for team management. If you have more than, say, 2 to 3 team members, grip comes in real handy. You can handle all your team conversations, respond to questions, assign tasks, as well as send videos out for training and get notified if anyone finds an issue on the farm. Even for small operations, it's important to keep accurate records for expense tracking and regulatory audits, and grip can really help with that.
Good to know. Before we get back to the episode, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, so on top of that, we provide GPS location every time you access a grip QR code sticker, giving you lightweight location tracking for your stuff. Anyone listening can go download our app today. Just go to grip.ag. That's grip with 2 P's. Give it a try using code THRIVEIN25. That's THRIVEIN25 for 15% off.
Okay, so yeah, the 1710, I actually owned one of those back in New York. Now, the problem with that one is that one had it had turf tires on it. So it was super wide and almost, yeah. So we used it for rototilling, but our rototiller was wider than the tractor, so that worked. But I understand the exact problem you face if your rototiller's too wide and it leaves lines and all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. All right, so then are you using a lot of compost and how are you spreading that?
Yeah, so yeah, every year, since we've known enough to do so, we've been adding 150 yards of compost to the field every year. And there used to be a place that rented this little Mill Creek spreader pretty cheaply. So yeah, we would line up a 1 week rental for first week of April every year and just kind of go at it then. But yeah, I actually wound up buying a very similar model from Mill Creek. So now we have one on site. Now we have a little more flexibility with when we get out there and don't have to force it if the soil's too wet. But yeah, it winds up taking about 100 trips. It holds about 1.5 yards. So yeah, it's 100 trips to the field with it. So we do that, and then we've kind of been alternating between two blends of fertilizer from Stutzman out of Canby. But yeah, we'll get like either 6 tons of just the loose pelletized Nutri-Rich 432. And I just have a little cone broadcast spreader for the 3-point that we spread that with. But then now each year we're alternating between that, and then in the other year we'll do, same company, same brand, but they have an 824 where it's not just the chicken manure. I think there's feather meal and blood meal mixed in there.
Correct.
And it's a little more expensive, but we can get away with using less. And yeah, just a slightly different nutritional makeup.
So talk a little bit about now in Oregon, you're an hour from Portland, but remind us a little bit about like how much rain you get and kind of like the general climate.
We get a lot of rain and snow in the winter. And yeah, basically usually through May, we're getting, fairly consistent rain, and then it just completely shuts off. So yeah, like June, July, August, September, we get almost no rain.
So it's all irrigation.
Yeah, which, it's, there's those days where you're just praying for a rainy day. And it's hard to, I think even the best irrigation systems can't fully replicate the benefits of a full, soaking rain. But we do have a pretty good irrigation system going, and as nice as some rain would be, it's also really nice to be able to control what beds and what fields are wet and dry when you need them to be. So we can stick to basically a pretty regular schedule of cultivating and planting and bed prep without having to wait for a field to dry out. And, maybe your planting day turns into a picking day, or, whatever that brings.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always, we're in Ohio here, and so we have a fair amount of rain through the season. And it's always one of those where I was just like, I wish I could turn it on and off. And
Totally.
That's West Coast farming. most of the time.
Yeah, and right. And yeah, I mean I guess the big difference I've noticed between farming here and farming in Massachusetts is the humidity back there. Well,
Yes.
it was definitely oppressive in the fields, but I think the plants really liked it. And yeah, I mean, just starting with even just like the starts you're propagating in the greenhouse, like everything seemed really happy there. And it's like we can keep our plants pretty happy out here as well, but that humidity is definitely something that seems like they miss a little bit.
Yeah. So you're saying that the vegetables want more humidity than you're able to give them, and that actually can cause some challenges.
I mean, I think so. I guess, there's probably also some benefits in terms of disease, but yeah, definitely something I've noticed in farming in the two different zones here.
Yeah, so us Ohio people always wish for either East Coast because it's less humid there, or West Coast because it's way less humid out there.
Yeah, you got even more humidity there.
Oh yeah, I mean in the summer it's like you can cut it with a knife a lot of days. Yeah, from like July and August you're wearing shorts, and I'm typically shorts and sandals. I mean you're just soaking that t-shirt just because it's so humid.
Yeah,
We start at 6 and we go to 2. That's our general work day, is 6 to 2, to try to stay out of the humidity.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's interesting though. Now, I think obviously there's other advantages of rain, because rain obviously is always better than irrigation water typically because of the charges in the rainwater compared to pumping out of the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I just put our second round of starts from the prop house. I put them outside, start hardening off last week, and just like immediately they got 3 days of rain, and they just look so much happier and healthier just getting that rainwater on them.
they jumped. Now, the other question would be, have you tested your irrigation water, and do you have any contaminants that may be causing you challenges?
That's a good question. I have not tested the irrigation water. But yeah, that's add it to the list.
Well, we're highly contaminated with aluminum and chlorides. And so we definitely see challenges with that. So again, I don't know, but it's always interesting. How deep is your aquifer?
So we pull out of the East Fork irrigation canal, which is just,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
for us, it's just diverted out of the East Fork of the Hood River, which flows off of Mount Hood. So yeah, we're just pumping, essentially, we pump directly out of the canal. And yeah, I guess the big issue for us is filtration and silt.
Okay.
Basically, it's sometime usually in August, the silt gets super strong, and we do overhead irrigation for 3/4 of what we grow. And for that, it's like that can pass the silt just fine. It'll just be like a pine needle or a piece of a stick that clogs a sprinkler once in a while. So we don't filter that. But then it's, for everything we have on drip, we need to filter pretty aggressively. And come that time of year, basically every 90 minutes, I got to go clean out the filter to stay ahead of the silt building up.
Wow.
And, if I miss that, then I need to do, but I have a semi-automatic one. So if I'm on it and do it every 90 minutes, it flushes the silt out. But if I go longer than that, the silt really cakes to the screen, and I have to disassemble the whole thing. And it's it's not a huge problem, but it's more.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yes. Yeah, we're injecting every week we do fertigation on our strawberries, and what we're injecting right now is a little bit more viscous. And you're right. If you keep that screen cleaned out, you're great. If you let it build up too much, then you have to almost take a pressure washer to it.
Totally.
Yeah. So interesting. Yeah, I would love to see what a test of your water is. So then then do you not have irrigation year round? Does it only come in when the canal is flowing?
That's right. Yeah. So I think
Okay.
it's right around either April 1st or April 15th is our, when they, I guess probably when we're supposed to start using it. They generally start introducing water to the ditch earlier than that. Which I think is number one, just to kind of do it gradually, and number two, so that orchardists can fill their sprayer tanks.
Yep.
But that's, usually we start having plants in the field a little bit before that turns on. But again, it's been raining so far. And then, I think it runs until September 15th, October 1st, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, usually by then it's, everything we are going to plant is at least been on the ground for a few weeks and has its feet under it. And we can kind of coast from there.
Yeah. And then after that, you may be planting your garlic or something, but that really doesn't. And then by then, I'm assuming, when's your first rain start of the year?
Usually not until sometime in October, later October.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So talk a little bit about your markets. You got the CSA, you got the farmer's market. Which do you like better? And kind of like, is it hard to keep your CSA full?
I really like both of them, and I feel like the CSA is so great just because it's this guaranteed steady outlet that, you can plan for, and it's like, it takes me a few months in the winter to kind of get everything set up, but once things are rolling, there's not a ton of work that goes into at least the organization of it. And just making sure that stuff's sold because it already is. And then, the farmer's market has become a super good outlet for us, but it also just kind of lets you, there's more wiggle room with it. It's like you bring what you got and hopefully you have enough to meet the demand, but it's not like it's pre-sold or anything. So it gives you that wiggle room to, if we need we do 160 CSA shares. So it's like, if we have 200 heads of cabbage ready one week, it's like, okay, we're going to bring those other 40 to the market. And if, 10 of them got eaten by gophers, that's not a huge problem. We still hit our 160 and we got stuff for market. It just kind of gives you that wiggle room.
Yeah, no, that is a great, I think your model right there is a great synergy between the two. There's a lot of advantages for exactly how you run things, because the CSA allows you to give the overages and to push stuff out, but then the farmer's market allows you to take those excesses and move those as well.
Yeah. And, when we were first going, I think we weren't really sure where we would land in terms of what our outlets were. At the beginning, we were focusing a little bit more on the wholesale stuff. But then, it's like I guess as our CSA has gotten bigger, not that it's huge, but it's just, it adds a great deal of stress to have, a chef wanting to lock up a certain portion of, I guess I just like for safety reasons kind of just want to hang on to in case we need it for the CSA. So I guess we've pulled back a little bit from the wholesale stuff as our CSA has grown and as our, ability to move stuff at the farmer's market has grown.
Yeah. So talk about work-life balance. Do you feel like you get overwhelmed by the small, because you have a small team with a pretty sizable operation there, or do you feel like you're pretty good at figuring out what you need to stay away from burnout?
Yeah. I think when we were first getting going, we were definitely burning out. It's like, I guess for us coming from the bigger scale of my family's farm back, at the time, it's like we didn't have any experience on the small scale. And I think, we had Elliot Coleman's book, The New Organic Grower, which I guess, laid out a pretty clear model for a smaller acreage operation. But other than that, yeah, it's like I think we probably hadn't even heard of like JM4TA
Mm-hmm.
yet, and um, weren't super involved on social media stuff. Whereas like now it's like you see there's a lot of people doing it on this small scale, but yeah, we definitely overwhelmed ourselves at the beginning.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's like every year we try to screw things up a little bit less, and yeah, it's like we've just put systems in place and have a schedule, and I think an appropriate number of employees where we can hang on. And it's like, yeah, this time of year we haven't had any employees start yet.
Yeah.
Um, so right now it's all on us, and I mean, this time of year in general, it's always a little overwhelming, just kind of getting it all going again. But once things are rolling, and I mean, I guess you're busier, but there's almost less time to stress because you're busier.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, once things are rolling, we can generally, stick to an 8-hour workday, um, 5 days a week plus the farmer's market. So we're hanging in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, we still have friends and get up to some fun stuff,
Yeah. That's the important part. What
Yeah.
systems or what efficiencies are you like most excited about that you've added to your farm over the years?
I mean, a big thing for us was figuring out our irrigation
Mm.
system. When we first moved on to this property, there was just a 2-inch mainline PVC pipe coming out of the ditch that ran down. We have like a kind of a long, narrow
Mm-hmm.
property that's sloped upwards towards the irrigation canal. Um, and so we have some just natural gravity pressure from that. Um, I guess basically what I'm getting at is that our irrigation system was a little bit of a mess at the
Mm.
beginning. So getting that figured out was huge. And that basically just involved teeing off of that main line above each field. And, now we have 4 hydrants along the upper edge of every field. And we had to put an electric pump in to boost the pressure. So once we got that figured out, that was huge for us. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's just these little decisions you can make to make things easier that, you know, I think make farming fun for us. Just making the decisions and seeing them play out. Like last year was the first year we started messing around with a silage tarp,
Mm.
and that's been great. I think we basically got it for improving our arugula game.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you don't have a truly stale bed, uh, I mean, growing any of those quick cut greens is just, I mean, borderline not worth it. Uh,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's been a fun thing to mess around with. Basket weeders, finger weeders, different implements. Um, but yeah, there's every year there's always something kind of new we're trying.
So do you have flea beetles that you deal with on like your greens?
Yeah, um, yeah. So we've decided we don't spray anything organic right
Okay.
now. So that basically just means we use a ton of row cover. So yeah, I mean the brassicas is, I mean that's where all of our efforts in terms of uh, pests are involved. And yeah, we just use a ton of row cover. If it's something we
Okay.
direct seed like the radishes, arugula, turnips, mustards, that type of thing, we seed them, and then we usually water them once, row cover it either that day or the next, and then we'll uncover them once for like an hour to just give them a quick scuffle hoe,
Mm-hmm.
and then we recover until the day we're picking them, and we just kind of roll it up as we're going. Um, and that's been really effective. And then if it's a transplanted brassica, so kale, collards, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, whatever, um, we'll we'll row cover them the day we plant them, and 2 to 3 weeks later, we'll uncover them. But, by then they've kind of gotten the start that they need without getting pestered by the flea beetle or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we can uncover them then. If we don't, they wind up just being too soft from not having to deal with the wind. And then, usually by then they can kind of, fend for themselves against the bugs, and we still get a good crop.
Yeah. Do you have the, I forget exactly what it's called. It's like a faciliums, or they're like it's like a not a nematode, but it's actually like a insect in the soil that's specific to I think the Northwest.
I mean, that's not ringing a bell, but I'm,
okay.
I feel like I'm also pretty, probably not as up to speed as I should be on a lot of the science behind some of this stuff.
I'm trying to research it because there's a specific one, because I worked with a farm that was closer to Portland, and that was something they really suffered with, and it literally would just be like specks. There'd be spaces in their row that the insect would just completely destroy.
Was it like a cutworm?
No, it wasn't a cutworm. Specific to Northwest. I'm just Googling it here for a second. See if I can find it here. No, it's not. And I can't remember, and it's not coming up here. They're coming up with just common pests. But yeah, there's a specific pest. I just saw it the other day, but it sounds like you don't have it, which is great because it can be a real bugger from what I understand. And I guess potatoes is something that you can grow and actually helps alleviate it.
Gotcha.
So anyway. Well, Taylor, anything else you'd like to share before we go?
Man, no. I'm excited to have been on with you. I'm excited to kind of be back out in the fields these last few weeks.
Yes, that has been good.
Yeah. And just appreciate you guys reaching out and thinking of us. And hopefully you guys have a great growing season.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's been a little cold so far, but we're absolutely looking forward to getting out in the field. And right now is the strawberry row cover on and off every couple days, and so that's never fun. But this year we have 1.5 acres, so it's a lot of row covers. So give me a couple weeks to get through that, and then I'll be a much happier person.
Yeah, yep, I hear you.
So, all right. Well, again, thanks for coming on, and keep up the good work.
All right, thanks so much, Michael. You too.
So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.